Hi everybody. So today I'm going to show you an updated version of a video on how I'm putting together the Gothic arch tracer. And in this case we're going to be using a ball and socket joint. So down the line we can actually take a reline impression of the lower portion because in this particular case the retromolar regions are insufficient, so we need to do a reline impression. And if this part right here where the tracing pin is not going to be removable, it's going to be difficult to go through all the functioning movements in order to get a good real-line impression on the lower. So these were scanned in on the articulator. The models were scanned in on articulator, and the base plates were designed in 3-shape, and the visualization output was exported, so they're in the same position. We're going to start off by using the upper. So we're going to actually close off, not this one, close off pretty much everything else and just work on these two portions right here. So for this one, when you press T, it activates the transform option. And what I'm going to do basically is line this up with a hip plane. So by clicking these squares, you can actually change the size of the plate. Now I'm going to make it a long and wide. And what I'm going to do is actually adjust it so it's parallel to my hammler notches on this region, which is looking pretty good right there. Okay. Just about like that. And from this point, I need to make sure that it's showing through the hammler notches and my incisive papilla, which it is doing right now. If it's a little bit off, it's not a big deal, but let me try to even it out just a little bit more right there. I think it's going to be a little bit better. So that's the correct plane for the upper. So what I'm going to do now is simply raise this up a little bit so it's not showing through here. And then I'm going to scale it down a bit by using the squares again. Let's move that forward. Okay, that's looking pretty good. And let's sink it in just a bit more. It's got a good adaptation to things. Now, if it shows through right here, for example, you can leave it as is, and I'll show you in a minute what you can do to clean that up. So let's press accept, and we're going to go into sculpt brushes. We're going to select robust smooth and around 30 on both, and we're actually going to just smooth that out so it's no longer showing through. Okay, now that we have the proper dimension of this, okay, we're going to press edit, click on this file right here. Oops, sorry. Click on shift and click on the plate so it selects both of them together, and this menu pops up automatically. Click on Boolean Union that joins these two files together. Okay, and press accept. So at this point our upper plate is done, so let's go ahead and deselect it. We're going to select the lower instead, and we're going to bring in these points right here as well as this one. Okay, so we're going to bring this inward into this position. Now this pin right here is 18 millimeters, and I use it usually when I don't have the upper portion set up in occlusion, just so I can line it up with 18 in the front and 3/4 up the retromolar pad on the bottom. But in this particular case, I might just utilize the upper plate just to kind of see where things are at. And I'm going to even out this angle a little bit more. Now this portion right here where the screw is going to be needs to be around the area of the first molar, so it's a bit too far back in my opinion. So let's bring it a bit more forward, right about here. Okay, the height looks pretty good. Now let's compare it to the upper and see how close we are to the top. I think we're a bit too close, so let's lower it down a little bit more. I think right about here is going to be pretty good. Okay, let's double check if our alignment is correct. So you can usually see right here that the angle is a little bit off. That's pretty close. All right, let's drop that down. That's looking pretty good. So a little bit more maybe. Right there. All right, I'm going to press enter. Now we no longer need this pin. So what I'm going to do is just simply go edit, plane cut. And because I only have this model selected right now and it's not connected to anything, I can easily just cut this pin without cutting anything else. Go down just a bit more right there. Okay, accept. Now we're gonna make selection a little bit bigger. Right there. Press O for optimize boundary, B for smooth boundary, press accept. Go into edit and erase and fill, just so the area is smoothed out. And clear selection. Okay, so now we have this lining up with the top. What I'm going to do is utilize these ball and socket joints to connect this stuff together. So once again, let's get rid of the top portion. We no longer need it because this is already aligned. Now we're going to move these into position one by one. We can rotate them like this. And like that. What I'm trying to do is try to keep the angles a bit close to where they need to be, just so they line up a bit better. So I'm going to move this down just a little bit like this. Hopefully this will work fairly well to line up things together. Okay. Press accept. And like I showed you guys before, what I'm going to do is use sculpt tool and just reduce this portion right here. Now you can increase the strength so it goes a bit quicker. And just smooth this out. Okay, so right now this is one file, right? These 2 points are together, and we want it to be two separate files. So what you're going to do is you're going to go click edit and click separate shells. So now it separates shells, and now you can actually attach these things to these files separately. So if I click on this one and click shift, I can press Boolean union and press accept and mesh these two together. And same thing here, Boolean union, accept. Okay. And now we move forward and do the same thing over here. So each one of these is going to be brought in and just simply positioned in the best possible spot so that things line up a bit better. So what you can do is try to kind of line things up so they kind of draw. So I'm thinking right here probably is going to be the best draw for this particular one. So accept, sculpt, take this down. A bit more. Okay. Let's move this region right here. Okay. Edits. Separate shells. Join these points together. Accept. And then we're going to join these 2 points together. Accept. And now for the last but definitely not least, we're going to bring in this point. I'm going to try to line it up also so it does not interfere with my alignment. And you won't know for sure until you actually print it. But the ones that I've done so far, they seem to lock in fairly well. If you end up having issues with this, you can always grind out the socket a little bit, and then when you're pushing things in, just hold it in with wax. This is not a permanent type of appliance, so I'm not worried about this at all. So this is simply to get your, pardon me, wrong button. This is simply to get your impression and the Gothic arch tracing. So if things go a little bit awry, it's not really a huge deal because you can just fix it right there chair side. So that's kind of what I do for this particular one. And then go back into edits, shift, oh, forgot to separate shells, edit separate shells. Now we're going to select these two, Boolean union, accept, and then select these two, Boolean union, accept. All right, so at this point we have 3 different files that we can do. So I see that I have an error on this one, so I'm going to press I, and it's going to highlight my errors. Auto repair all. I'm going to do that just in case with all 3 of them. But what you're seeing right here is that this is a bit tall, right? So what I can do is select this one only. And then I'm going to do edit, plane cut. And I'm actually going to go into, it's a bit too much, 90 degrees, come on, right there. So depending on how large the file is, it might be a bit difficult for you to line things up exactly because the size of the file is sometimes too big. So I'll show you how to reduce it here in a second. So this will be a lot flatter and better for this particular one. Let's press accept. And also, if you press Control A, it selects the entire file. You can go into edit and click reduce. And it actually reduces the number of triangles in the mesh, making the file size smaller. You can go 50% or you can even go higher. You can go about 70% right here. It's going to make it a lot easier to manipulate. Okay, clear selection. So now we have 3 files. All right, all 3 are here, and the 4th file we're going to need to print is the screw, and all the files are actually in the folder that is on Thingiverse. But if you look right here, this might still be a bit too tall, so you can go back in and sculpt it down even further if you want, just so you're not interfering with things of the screw. Or if you haven't done it before you print it, you can always just reduce it a bit chair side. Okay, so that's what I wanted to show you folks, and that's how I make my tracer. So this particular part is removable, right? So if I click on, let's click back on edit and click on T, so this part is completely separate. So we're going to use this portion. We're going to use this portion right here to take our reline impression to clear up any kind of faulty areas right here. And then this snaps in, the screw is put in to the proper vertical dimension, and we can do our Gothic arch tracing from that point. All right. So I hope this helps. Good luck to everybody, and see you next video. Bye.